Dark Souls 3 might be my favorite entry in the trilogy, and the main reason for that is its boss quality. There's so many unique and challenging bosses to be found in this game, as well as some that are shit, bad, awful. You get the deal. So, I thought I'd rank every boss in Dark Souls 3 because, well, I want to. How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. I'm Pebble, this is Boss Fog, and welcome to the definitive ranking of every Dark Souls 3 boss according to some guy who makes videos on the internet. My credentials are, I've played this game for 8 years, and that's about it. A true expert. I've studied the lore, I know what I'm doing, and you can bet your left nut I'm gonna be biased in this video. But I'll give my reasons, don't worry. That's enough time wasting. Let's begin. Kicking things off in last place is a boss I'm sure you saw coming, the Ancient Wyvern, everyone's least favorite boss in this game. And for good reason. Firstly, it doesn't drop a boss soul, just the dragon headstone, a niche item that, frankly, not a lot of people will use. Secondly, it's just an unfun, weird fight. Trying to take on the Wyvern normally is just boring, and running up the battlements through hordes of snake men just to get a plunging attack off feels anticlimactic. The best way to deal with this thing is to fire the worst spell in the game at it, because that's all it deserves. Considering the other major dragon boss in Dark Souls 3, this dragon comes up very short. No redeeming qualities. Next. Now, you may think this is low for the Great Wood, but trust me, I have my reasons. My reasons being it's a stupid boss who won't let me lock onto it with spells no matter how hard I try. I'm not kidding when I say this boss has caused me more grief than some of the harder ones in the game, mainly because of the sorcery builds I've done. Trying to knock out the sacks is such a pain for ranged builds. On the other hand, with a melee build, this fight's a joke. But it does have some great loot up for grabs, like the transposing kiln and its soul, which gives you Arstor's spear and the Hollow Slayer greatsword, so I guess it's not 100% terrible. Man, I hate it though. Imagine, if you will, if you took the Phalanx from Demon Souls and merged it with Prowling Magus and Congregation from Dark Souls 2. Add a little salt and pepper, and you'd get the Deacons of the Deep, another fight that makes my blood boil. Continuing the pattern of bosses that are simple for melee characters, but an absolute nightmare if you're using lock-on spells, bows, or throwables. The Deacons had me bashing my head against the wall trying to beat them with the Soul Arrow. There's just so many of them that it's torture to defeat one before the Archdeacon's soul inevitably moves on to the next one right as I'm about to get the kill. On the other hand, they're a joke to beat with a big ol' sword. The soul of the Deacons has some decent rewards, with the Cleric's Candlestick, a weapon that's both a sword and a catalyst, and the Deep Soul Sorcery, a favorite of mine. However, I never want to see another Deacon again, so 23rd place it is. The boss of probably my least favorite area in this game, the Catacombs, is none other than High Lord Walnir. First and foremost, I love the reveal of this boss. Us greedy little rats running towards a shiny only to get the shit scared out of us by the biggest skeleton in Lothric. Absolutely hilarious. Love it. But that's unfortunately where my love for this boss ends. He's not very hard to beat once you know about his bracelet gimmick, and the skeletons who spawn during the fight are more of a nuisance than anything else. His attacks are slow and very easy to dodge, with the only thing to be concerned about being the fog that can kill you fairly quickly if you're not careful. There's some decent things up for grabs with his soul, with Walnir's Holy Sword being a good option for a Dark Paladin build, and Black Serpent being an interesting pyromancy that can home in on targets and move around obstacles. Overall though, Walnir's a bit of a letdown. Half-Light, Spear of the Church, a lesson in mediocrity. In a DLC where every other boss is amazing, this guy just had to butt in and ruin the streak. I know he's meant to be an introduction into the Knights of Filianor Covenant, but I don't care. He's severely lacking. I should also mention that I'm basing this review on the offline boss, not the random invasions that happen when online. Good? Great. My main problem with this boss is that he shouldn't even be a boss at all. He should just be an NPC invasion that takes place at some point during the level. I mean, he only drops a Titanite slab and a Filianor spear ornament, so it wouldn't really make a difference. The fight itself is pretty fun for the most part, except for the godforsaken painting guardians that show up. Man, they're annoying. Half-Light does have some interesting moves for an NPC character, which makes it mildly interesting, but overall this is a boss fight that's forgettable at best. He's old, he's a demon, he's the king, but that doesn't necessarily make him a very good boss. I've never personally struggled fighting the old Demon King with any build or weapon, he's just kind of there for me. His moveset is nothing to really write home about, and the fire explosions are pretty cool, but all of his other attacks are pretty easy to dodge and punish if you're not greedy. One thing I absolutely love about this fight is the end, though. Watching him unleash his last bit of strength and then become too weak to carry on is kind of heartbreaking in a way, and I love the theatricality of it. His soul yields some pretty good rewards too, with the Chaos Bed Vestiges being one of my favorite pyromancies, and the Old King's Great Hammer just kind of being there, like its owner. Just like its fading flame, this demon will be forgotten with time. Vort suffers from the same ailment that the old Demon King does for me. He's just there. Even on my first playthrough, I didn't really struggle with or think much of him. His attacks aren't too difficult to deal with even for a new player. I do like the whole charging bull aspect when he enters his second phase though. Doro! Great dodging practice. His soul gives some pretty decent items. Vort's Great Hammer deals frost damage and hits like a truck, being a very good option early on in the game for a strength build. And the Pontiff's Left Eye is a decent little ring that lets you recover health with successive attacks. I rarely use them though, so Vort finds himself in the class of bosses I constantly forget about. I won't lie to you, I've found myself actively disliking this boss lately, mainly because of the stupid wolves who spawn at the beginning of the fight. Why are you here? Leave me alone! The Gravetender himself is a decent little NPC fight, if a little annoying. I feel like he dodges a lot more than other NPCs in the game, but I could be wrong about that. With spells, it's easy to catch him in a roll, and his moveset isn't much to admire. It's when his pet dog joins the fray that the fight gets interesting though. I consider this boss one of the most chaotic in the game when it comes to the second phase. I constantly find myself panic rolling and running away to avoid the big fuck off wolf who, for some reason, gained the ability to launch himself at me like a tornado. It's critical to beat the Gravetender first if I want to stand a chance, and every encounter with this boss is a nail-biter for me, like another lackluster NPC boss. Half-Light. This guy doesn't drop a boss soul, instead dropping the champion's bones, an online item that lets you access online duels and arenas, and Valor Heart, a sword and shield combo weapon that's not that great. This boss doesn't really fill my heart with the valor needed to bother beating it. Ah, my ancient enemy, my bane, the boss that hates sorcerers with a passion, the Crystal Sage. What can I say about this guy? 1. He's probably not as bad as I'm making him out to be, but I struggle against him on every sorcery playthrough. 2. He has an interesting moveset. It's not necessarily very difficult, but the clone summoning is unique and really sucks when you have to lock onto him with a ranged spell or weapon. The slow homing crystals also add a little element of panic into the fight that I appreciate. Up close he's kind of a pushover though, with him disappearing after 2 or 3 hits. And 3. His soul actually holds some very good items, with the Crystal Hail being one of my favorite sorceries, I don't care what anyone says, and the Crystal Sage's Rapier, which gives you an extra 50 item discovery. Till next time, big man. Time for some lore. Many years ago, I went into my local shop to buy a new video game. I had no idea what video game I wanted to buy, I just knew I wanted to play something new. Call of Duty had gotten stale, you know. I go to the game sections and pick up 2 games, Dark Souls 3 and The Witcher 3. I'd never played either of the prequels, just read reviews that they were very good. So what did I do? I picked The Witcher 3. Played it inside and out for like a month, favorite game of all time. But then I went back to the shop and bought Dark Souls 3. Popped it in, made my character a knight, and heading into the Cemetery of Ash. Got to the Gundyr boss fight, and holy shit did I get beaten bad. Didn't even get a hit off. Killed me so quick. Went on to attempt the fight another 20 more times before I gave up. Didn't even attempt to play the game again for 6 months. I think that's a great introduction to this series. The first boss fondled me so badly I didn't want to play anymore. I think we can all agree that Gundyr is a great first challenge, and he really sets the tone for just how difficult this game is. Winner of Lothric's Dad of the Year award 7 times in a row, Osiris is a complicated one to rank. On one hand, he's a good, theatrical endgame boss with disturbing cutscenes and animations. Exhibit A? And on the other hand, there's this attack. That's it. That's why Osiris is so low. This untelegraphed attack. As well as some other things. I'm not really a big fan of his first phase, the only upside being his dialogue, but I do enjoy the switch to his second. He's absolutely rabid, similar to a Bloodborne boss, and a mistake can cost you dearly. His consumed soul will give you either White Dragon Breath, a heavy-hitting sorcery that forms spikes that travel towards your enemy, and the Moonlight Greatsword, the most iconic sword in the series. Great items, but then again, he does do that attack. So, he's gonna have to settle for 15th place. I know, I'm petty. I've actually discovered a newfound respect for this boss in the past few months. Not as a person, sludge, monster thing, but mechanically. I used to just blow right through this fight as a melee character, not thinking much of it and honestly kind of being disappointed that this was a Lord of Cinder fight. But after doing a few spellcaster runs, I realized this fight can vary wildly based on your build. Trying to beat Aldrich with sorcery is very difficult, pyromancy is easy, and Faith Lightning is easiest. It's a wild pendulum that I had no idea about. Their moveset revolves around spells and delayed attacks, with the rain of arrows being especially infuriating. I'm not the biggest fan of the items available from Aldrich's soul, unfortunately. The Dark Moon bow is a bow, so I'll never use it, and the Life on Scythe being cool, but outclassed by other dark miracles. Aldrich is a good mid-game boss and a solid challenge. Oh yeah, Yorm is pretty high on my list. I know he's a gimmick boss, I know, but I love this fight, with and without the Storm Ruler. But there's one key detail that elevates it for me. The addition of Sigurd's questline being tied to Yorm. Come on, you can't tell me that hearing Sigurd say, "Let the sun shine upon this Lord of Cinder," didn't give you goosebumps when you first fought him. Mechanically, I also like him a lot, my only problem being the insane amount of health he has. More than any other boss in Dark Souls 3, but I guess that's kind of the point given the incentive to use the Storm Ruler. Compared to the other giant encounters in the other Dark Souls games, as well as Dark Souls 3, Yorm is unique in that he isn't slow at all. He's very mobile, and his attacks hit hard and fast, making it so much more fun. His soul's rewards are great as well, with Yorm's Great Machete being a great strength weapon, and his shield offering some of the highest defense of any shield in the game. Yorm's a fun gimmick fight indeed. No matter what build I use, this fight always feels like a dance to me. Dodge, dodge, delayed dodge, punish, repeat. The Ornstein Slayer's armor has a hard-hitting but fair moveset, with plenty of opportunities to land hits while he recovers. Phase 2 can be a little bothersome if the guardrails at the side of the arena break, adding death by falling to the list of possible outcomes to the fight, but barring that, it's just a bunch of projectile dodging. If you're a fan of heavy gear, its soul will be right up your alley, as the Dragonslayer Great Axe is a great strength weapon imbued with lightning and features a cool lightning AoE skill, while the Dragonslayer Great Shield has high lightning resistance and a fun shield bash skill. You know what? That's a good way to describe this boss. It's just fun, and isn't that what gaming's all about? Pontiff Sulyvahn, the big bad of Dark Souls 3, just an overall devious dude. Apparently he was supposed to be the final boss of Dark Souls 3 before they took it in another direction. I've always wondered how the game would have gone if he was the last boss. Would there have been a Dark Souls 4? Pretty fun stuff to think about. Anyway, the boss fight. One of my absolute favorite things to do in this game is parry him during his first jump attack. It's honestly so satisfying. After that, there's a lot of panicking though. I don't think I've ever truly got Sulyvahn's moveset down. I don't know what it is, the delayed attacks, the fluid moves, the speed, it's all quite difficult for me. That doesn't make him a bad boss though. I think he's great. His presentation is phenomenal, and I like the second phase with his shadow summon. I don't know what it is, but having to deal with two of them is cinematic as fuck. Plus the weapons available with his soul are fantastic. The Great Sword of Judgment is a great option for a spell sword, as it scales a little with intelligence, and fires a projectile as its skill. And the Profane Greatsword is able to ignite itself with flame. Cheers, Pontiff. Pontiff Sulyvahn's stripper is up next, and she's a fun time. No, not that way, you animal. Jesus Christ, she's a fun boss. First of all, her cutscene is spooky and really sets the tone for the fight. I've always wondered where her and Vort come from, though. Why are they coming out of these wet portals? If anyone knows, comment it down below and I'll be very grateful. Her movement is creepy, and I always find it difficult to tell what she's going to do, or what attack she's going to use for that matter, keeping me on edge for the fight. Plus, I mean, do I even need to say it? No, I'm kidding, it's a joke, I'm sorry. My only gripe with this boss is I found she's prone to just taking damage for too long. Is that a complaint? I don't know, man, she just has a tendency to go around in circles for like 5 to 8 seconds at a time, which gives me a huge window to deal damage. Can't believe I'm complaining about free damage. Who am I? I'll also admit, I'm not a huge fan of the items you get from her soul either. The Dancer's enchanted swords are interesting, dealing magic and fire damage as well as having a unique spinning skill. But I find its damage is slightly lacking, whereas the soothing sunlight miracle is a healing miracle which I never use. It's probably good though, make no mistake, it requires 45 faith to cast. And yeah, the Dancer dances her way into the top 10. The most hidden boss in the game sure is a heavy hitter. The Nameless King is a great fight. I have practically no notes for him. The first phase is fun. Beating his chicken senseless while it spews fire is always a great time, and his second phase almost feels like an Elden Ring boss due to his delayed and slow attacks. My only problem with this fight is the fact that I was a little disappointed in it when I first played the game. I had heard about this super hard secret boss in Archdragon Peak and was fully expecting to get my ass handed to me on a plate, but surprisingly, I beat him in 4 tries. I'm not saying it wasn't difficult, it was, but I felt slightly let down by it. That's just me though. I do, however, love the weapons available from his soul, and since the Nameless King is so special, we're given a whopping 3 options for items from his soul, a trait only shared with one other boss. The Dragonslayer Sword Spear has been a go-to for me for a long while now. I love its hard-hitting moveset, plus the skill lets you fire lightning bolts at enemies. That's metal. The Storm Curved Sword is a fun weapon with the Tornado skill, letting you spin your way through enemies in the blink of an eye. And finally, we have the Lightning Storm Miracle, a heavy-hitting spell that destroys your enemies with lightning. Gwyn's Firstborn sure knows how to party. If there was an aura farming award in this list, the Abyss Watchers would take gold. I mean, just look at them. Challenging you to a duel, running their comrades through with a greatsword, lighting their sword on fire. Grrr, it's great. But let's get into the actual fight. It's great. What more can I say? Their moveset is so fluid and satisfying, and when the 2 other Abyss Watchers join in Phase 1, the fight becomes chaotic and really feels like a proper melee. When Phase 2 comes around, they gain fiery attacks that leave trails for you to avoid, and the spectacle is just great. But above all else, this is a fair fight. It just feels perfect for that level 30 to 40 range, and as the first Lord of Cinder, it's a challenge, but a doable one. The Soul of the Blood of the Wolf gives you some juicy items as well, with the Fire and Greatsword being a staple in my online play for years now, with its acrobatic moveset, and the Wolf Knight's Greatsword letting you cosplay as Artorias, and flip like him with its skill too. Great fight. Dark Eater Midir, the Guardian of Filianor, and to some people, the hardest boss in the entire game. Can't say I disagree with that sentiment. I've died to Midir more times than any other boss on most of my playthroughs. I'm not sure if it's the huge health pool, the surprisingly quick attacks which hit like an atomic bomb dropped on an anthill, or the ridiculous laser attack he does that makes it hard. But holy fuck is it spectacular. Before Midir, the only good dragon boss in my opinion was Calamite, but even by Dark Souls 1 standards he was slightly clunky. Midir brought From Software's dragon fights to a whole new level. He was the blueprint for the future. Devastating swipes, chaotic fire attacks, strafing flames, everything can be traced back to this boss. And I love him for that. I'm not sure how I feel about his rewards though. The old Moonlight sorcery functions similarly to the Moonlight Greatsword, but the reach of the projectile is severely nerfed, whereas the Frayed Blade isn't really worth the investment considering it has the highest dex requirements in the game, while having atrocious durability. It is what it is though, at least Midir's cool. The Champ. The rematch of the century, Champion Gundyr. To me, this boss feels like he belongs in Elden Ring the most. His delayed attacks, his surprising combos, and the sheer amount of swings he can get off before an opening reveals itself is just anxiety-inducing. This is a boss fight done right. Seeing how far you've come by fighting this guy in his prime when you probably struggled against his Udex counterpart during your first playthrough is also very rewarding. And speaking of rewarding, the champ actually drops a soul for us this time. The Champion's Halberd is a beast of a weapon that deals increased poise damage and whose skill lets you imitate one of Gundyr's attacks, and the Prisoner's Chain is a nifty ring that gives you extra vigor, endurance, and vitality at the cost of receiving more damage. I may not fully understand the Untended Graves, why Gundyr's here, or even any of the stuff that's going on for the most part, but I do know one thing. Gundir's a properly good boss. The finale of Dark Souls 3, the culmination of years of deaths, the final challenge for us to overcome, the Soul of Cinder. What a fight this is. I mean, just mechanically it's fucking crazy. His first phase has 4 separate movesets that he can use. The Greatsword, the Sorcerer, the Pyromancer, and the Spear Miracle one, which is just crazy. I don't think any other boss in the FromSoft catalog is anything similar to his moveset variation. And then we get to Phase 2, the phase that made grown men around the world shed a silent tear, the Gwyn moveset, bringing everything full circle. The little plin plim plon when he transitions gets me every time. It's just so cinematic. And what does his soul have for us? Firstly, is the Sunlight Spear, an upgraded version of Lightning Spear that deals great damage. And the Firelink Greatsword, a bonfire sword that deals fire damage and has a fun leaping skill. There wasn't a boss like him before, and there hasn't been a boss like him since. What a great close to the trilogy. In my opinion, aside from Ornstein and Smo, this is the best duo fight From Software has given us. It also happens to be one of my favorites in the game. Whether you're melee, spellcaster, or a bit of both, you're gonna find this fight both challenging and a ton of fun. Maybe. You may hate it. I don't know. Phase 1's a fun time. It involves a lot of running, a bit of running, and more running, with a few attacks sprinkled in for good measure. Once one demon goes down, you can deal with the other fairly easily. Then we get to Phase 2, which has a unique mechanic. Depending on which demon you killed last, you'll get a different demon prince. There's the Laser Prince, the easier of the two, and the Fireball Prince, which is literally hell on earth. Deplete the top health bar if you value your life and your sanity. That being said, it's pretty satisfying to defeat the Fireball one. Once the prince is vanquished, you can get your grubby little hands on his soul, which offers Seething Chaos, a pyromancy similar to the Fire Orb, except it sticks to the ground and explodes after a bit, and the Demon's Scar, a very unique sword/pyromancy flame combo weapon that only deals fire damage. In the next FromSoft game, they should do a quadruple demon fight. I'm ready and willing. The Slave Knight known as Gale. What can be said about him that hasn't already been said? The last boss that many of us fought to round off the Dark Souls trilogy. And man, what a fight it was. He's very reminiscent of Artorias in his first phase, fighting with the wild abandon of a rabid dog, leaping and dashing around, delivering punishing attacks. But, oddly, the fight feels fair. Plenty of room to dodge, just enough time to heal. It's fantastic. And when he composes himself and succumbs to the Dark Soul, it's a chaotic flurry of devastating attacks, teleportation, and lightning. The presentation is incredible, and truly makes for a memorable boss fight. Along with the blood of the Dark Soul, Gale also drops his soul, giving us access to Gale's Greatsword. A super fun weapon with an acrobatic skill, letting you mimic some of Gale's moves, and the repeating crossbow, which is honestly kind of shit and not worth the time. God, this fight is so great. Just two nobodies fighting over nothing at the end of the world. Wonder if that's ever been said before. Coming in second place is a testament to Miyazaki's love for feet. It's Sister Frida and Father Ariandel, a rare, true 3-phase fight. You don't see many of those nowadays, unfortunately. It's a massive test of endurance, patience, and above all else, skill. The first phase is just Frida messing around, fairly unremarkable, but she will definitely punish you if you're not careful. Phase 2 starts with the most gut-wrenching scream I've ever heard, and now it's the Ornstein and Smo-inspired second phase, or as I like to call it, Wail on the Fatty. There's no point in engaging Frida in this phase, so I just smack Ariandel silly. And now Phase 3. It's like if you took Lady Maria, gave her a scythe, pumped her full of narcotics, and set her loose on a field of rabbits. She'll slice you, she'll dice you, and she'll burn you with her never-ending black flame attacks. Hardly any windows to heal, or room to breathe. Your best option is to stun lock her, as she has little poise. Once she's defeated, you gain her soul. And a Titanite slab after the second phase, I should add. Her soul holds Frida's Great Scythe, one of my favorite weapons in the game. Its unique skill allows you to conjure a smaller, ice-coated scythe in your offhand, with light attacks emulating Frida's fighting style, and a strong attack coating the area in front of you with frost. The other, less interesting item available is the Rose of Ariandel, a whip that also doubles as a miracle catalyst. It ain't that great, that's all I'll say. Of all the DLC bosses, this one takes the cake as the best in my opinion, and is far and away the highlight of the Ariandel DLC. And here we are, at the number 1 spot, and it could only really be Prince Lorien and Prince Lothric at the peak. I love everything about this fight. During every playthrough I do, this is the battle I'm the most excited to take part in. It's just epic. The lore, the music... Holy shit, I haven't talked about the music for any of the bosses yet. Okay, one sec. Here's a ranking of all the OSTs according to me. Got it? Great. Can't believe I forgot about that. Back to the twins though. Phase 1 is phenomenal. The panic-inducing teleports that Lorien does really adds a sense of desperation to the fight, with his regular attacks being both hard-hitting and satisfying to avoid. Once he's dealt with, we get to fight Miquella and Radahn, the prequel. This phase is really unique. Lorien's relatively the same, but with the added threat of Lothric summoning spells for us to avoid, the tempo revs up. I love how Lothric revives his brother once he falls too. It's a really unique mechanic. And once the twins have been dealt with, we're given their soul, which also can be used to make 3 weapons. Sort of. The first weapon is Lothric's Holy Sword, a fairly lackluster straight sword with a unique skill that lets you fire off a ray of light. The second is Lorien's Greatsword, a fire-imbued sword whose skill lets you launch flames across the ground. If you happen to gain both swords during your subsequent playthroughs, you can combine them into the Twin Prince's Greatsword, which gains both of the individual sword skills. It's a very fun time. And there you have it. The best boss in the game, in my humble opinion, is the Twin Princes Lorien and Lothric. What a fight. And you've made it to the end. Thanks for watching. I know there'll be a few disagreements about my rankings, but that's to be expected. Leave a comment if you'd swap any of them around. I'm not sure what my next video will be on yet. I'm sort of all over the place at the moment with Christmas coming up and visiting back home for a few weeks, but I'll think of something. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if I don't see you beforehand, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves, and don't you dare go hollow.